Who wants to start? I don't really have an opening statement unless you want me to make it. Yes, sir.
Coach, could you talk about the progress Tyler made the second half of the season and the confidence you had in him going in?
Tech is back in the house, man. Back for another year. Good. Yeah, Tyler, of course, came on the second half of the season and really provided a spark for us. I think the two things that I was most impressed with him is he gets thrown into the fire as a true freshman, and he really never got rattled or affected. I mean, it says a lot about his confidence and his abilities, and he got hit a lot, and he made some mistakes, but he kept going. That's a great quality. And then secondly, he did a phenomenal job of pushing that ball down the field and creating some explosive plays. Now, so it's a good starting point. Now he's still in his infant stages in quarterback play. He's got a long way to go to turn into an every down dependable player in the SEC. But I've been real impressed with his investment in getting better, and it's only going to come in time.
You talked, Coach, about your transition from year 1 to year 2 and how maybe you feel different today than you did.
Yeah. Well, in Knoxville, we call this year 1. It was year 0 last year, given the amount of change that we had. But we are light years away, and you know, I made the statement that we inherited a big senior class last year who had a lot of influence on the team, and of course that makes it more challenging to really put in your way of doing things. But they did a great job, and our coaches did a good job of managing that. But it allowed us to really flip the page this year and kind of redefine what it means to play for Tennessee. I think it's something that we lost in our program, understanding what the expectation is in everything that we do. And so it's been a real healthy thing in our program, and it's helped that most of our team are freshmen and sophomores.
Can you talk about this?
70%.
Can you talk about your special teams and your kickers? Tell us what you think they're going to do this year.
Yeah, well, we got our kickers returning, Mike Pilardi, you know, who I think he got a little action last year on kickoffs. I think he's going to be a really good field goal kicker for us. He's working very hard on improving his kickoffs. It wasn't the distance and placement that we certainly expect, but he'll be better in time. And then we're going to have a new punter who's a freshman, redshirted last year, a very talented leg. So I think with both of them, because of their youth, there's going to be growing pains, but they're the right kind of guys to coach.
Can you talk about the addition of Arkansas to the schedule this year?
Yeah, well, it's not going to be easy. I played, you know, when we were at LSU, I know what kind of environment it is to go on the road at Arkansas. It's always tough, but it's especially tough given the state of their program right now. Bobby's done a great job. They're extremely talented, and they're going to be one of the teams that's going to be contending for a conference championship.
You were talking last year about rebuilding the Tennessee reputation. How do you feel you are in that process?
Well, I feel pretty good that we've made a ton of progress. I think our players have been, for the most part, representing the way we want them to represent. I think that how we compete on the field is a component of that, and we're going to continue to grow that. So we're never going to be perfect. We're always going to make mistakes. But I do think there's a sense of feel good about the state of our program and the direction we're heading.
Talk about the thought process and what in your decision to bring Jansen Jackson back to the program.
Bringing Jansen back? Well, he withdrew. We all know that Jansen is going through a lot, and even though he's back, he's not necessarily back. He's got a lot to do. He's on the team. He's got a lot to do for himself and a lot to do for the program, and so really the jury's still out. My thought process on most players is if they show a true, genuine willingness to work through their problems, acknowledge their problems, and have a genuine interest in solving their problems, then I just believe it's our responsibility to help support them, and that's been the case with Jansen.
Coach, you talked about Jansen Jackson and Vols Montour Hughes, and there's going to be some challenges on defense. That's the first part of my question. How is that going? The second part, last year, there was a lot of adversity. You know, I think you were 6-2 in games that you won.
We were 8-7 in post-game handshakes. that's certainly not going to be our standard, never quit. We want to win the games. But I was proud of sort of the resiliency of the team last year. We were in a tough spot, sitting there at 2-6, and just got beat pretty handily by a couple of good football teams. And we had every reason in the world to doubt, to cash it in, but those guys didn't flinch, and it's a real tribute to them. There's no question on defense, we got some uncertainty. We only have one returning starter back in the front seven in a league where if you don't have a dominant front seven, you're going to have a tough time competing. So that doesn't mean we're not going to be any good. It just means that we have zero experience. I think it's very similar to how we entered the season on offense last year. We came in with no experience on the offensive line, a new quarterback and a new runner. But during the course of the year, we turned in to be a pretty decent offensive football team once we got our personnel intact and some young guys really stepped up and performed. And we're hoping we'll get the same kind of production on defense this year.
It's kind of a rarity, though, to have youth and experience now like you do on the offensive line.
It is rare, and you're right. I mean, our offensive line, we have one junior, 3 sophomores, and a freshman, but we feel pretty good about it. I think it's the one position on our team where we feel like we've got a deep and talented group, but we still don't have the experience that makes a great offensive line. Hopefully that'll come in time.
Coach, there's a case still looming that's from prior regimes involved in this NCAA program. How important is it for you to get the finality to that? And could the NCAA be more timely in wrapping some of these things up?
Well, certainly we've been wanting something like that to close since I got there. It has been a challenge. This is our 3rd recruiting class where we've had to at least answer questions about it. But I have been extremely impressed and appreciative of how the NCAA has acted as far as listening to our concerns and making some changes that are going to be good for everybody. I also want to point out that I understand their challenges. It's not easy what they do. It's easy for all of us to be critical and say, hurry up. But when you understand what their challenges are from a personnel standpoint, they lack subpoena power. It's very difficult, these investigations. And so I'm sensitive to that. And I've just been appreciative of how they've been responsive to our concerns and the changes that they've been making.
We got one final question.
Coach, you got a smaller senior class.
That's quick.
How do you feel your team leadership is from the players?
Well, yeah, we have 10 seniors and only, I think, 2 of them are returning starters. So that's not how you want to draw it up entering the season. And so I think the leadership's going to have to just emerge over time. Hard to be a leader when you don't really know what you're doing, and most of our young guys don't. But at some point, it's going to get tough, and we're going to need some of the players to rally together, and they always emerge every year. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.